Hey guys, welcome to DIY Crafts. Today I'm going to show you how to crochet a flower with Indian flag theme. So let's get started. For this I'm using saffron, white and green 4-ply yarn and a hook of size 3 mm. Let's begin with green color for making flower base. Make a slip knot and chain 5. You can even use a magic ring for this project. Now make a slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. For row 1, make chain 1 and make a single stitch into the round. Now make chain 3 and make another single stitch into the same center. Again chain 3. Continue this pattern of single stitch and chain 3 for 6 times. If you are watching my video for the first time, please do subscribe and click on the bell icon to get the notifications for my latest videos. So after making it for 6 times, you will have 6 single stitches in the center separated by chain 3 spaces. Now slip stitch on the top of the first stitch. Row 1 is completed. Now for row 2, begin with the chain 1 and single stitch into the same stitch. Now chain 4 and make a single stitch on the top of single stitch from previous row. Now make another chain 4 and make a single stitch over the single stitch from previous row. Continue this pattern of single stitch and chain 4 for 6 times. Slip stitch to the first stitch and row 2 is completed. Now for row 3, begin with chain 1 and single stitch over the single stitch. Now chain 5 and single stitch over the previous row single stitch. Now again chain 5. Continue this pattern of single stitch and chain 5 6 times. Join to the first stitch with a slip stitch. This completes the base of the flower. Now chain 1, trim the excess thread and weave the ends. Now let's start by making petals of the flower. Take orange color and attach it to any of the chain 5 spaces as shown. Now make chain 2 and do 1 HDC into the chain 5 space. Now make 5 double crochet stitches into chain 5 space. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now make 1 HDC and chain 2. Now close the petal by making a slip stitch into the chain 5 space. This is 1 petal. You can trim that excess thread Just be careful. Now make the slip stitch into the next chain 5 space for making the second petal. Again begin by making chain 2. That will be the starting of our petal. Next make 1 HTC. Then 5 DC. You can always adjust the work by closing them together. So now I am making 5 DC. That's 3, 4, and the 5th one. Now make 1 HTC into the same chain 5 space and close the petal by making chain 2. Slip stitch into the chain space. So this completes the second petal. So continue this pattern of chain 2 HTC, 5 DC and 1 HTC and chain 2 for all the remaining chain spaces. So after making all the petals, slip stitch into the first chain space, chain 1 and fasten off. Now for petals in row 2, pick up the white color yarn and attach it to any of the chain 4 spaces as shown. You can just fold the petals from previous row to back side to make it easier for working. Now start by making chain 2. Now make 1 HTC, that is half double crochet, into the chain 4 space. Now make 4 double crochet stitches into the same chain 4 space. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now after making 4 DCs, we have to make 1 HTC and then chain 2, slip stitch into the same chain 4 space. This completes a smaller petal in row 2. Now slip stitch into the next chain 4 gap for making another petal. Now again make chain 2, 1 HTC, 4 DC, that's 4 double stitches, again 1 HTC and chain 2. Now slip stitch into the same chain 4 space to complete the second petal. Continue making this pattern in all the chain 4 spaces. So after making all the 6 petals, slip stitch into the first chain 4 space and fasten off. Weave in all the ends, and now let's make the petals for first row with green color. Take the yarn and join it to any of the chain 3 spaces in row 1 as shown. Just begin the petal by making chain 2. Now make 1 HTC into the chain 3 space. Now make 3 double crochet stitches. That's the first one, 2, and the third one. Now make 1 HTC, and finally close the petal by making chain 2 and slip stitch into the same chain 3 space. That's the first petal in first row. Now moving on to this next chain 3 space with a slip stitch for making the second petal. Again chain 2. You can trim that excess thread at the beginning. Just be careful you don't cut the main thread. You can fold the petals from the previous rows so that it will be easier for us to work. So now make 1 HTC. We have already done chain 2. It's 1 HTC now. Then make 3 DCs into the same chain space. 1, 2, and the third one. Now make 1 HTC, chain 2 and slip stitch into the same stitch. This completes the second petal. Now move on to the next petal, that is the next chain 3 space, and make a slip stitch. And continue to follow this pattern until you finish all the 6 petals. So after making all the 6 petals, slip stitch into the first chain 3 space, chain 1 and fasten off. I have chosen colors according to my theme. However, you can choose your own favorite colors and add them as appliques to your hat, baby dresses or handbags or anything. A 3-layered crochet flower with Indian flag theme is ready. Do let me know your thoughts on this video in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it and subscribe to DIY Crafts.